Americans spent $6.5 billion on pest control last year. Let that number sit for a second. $6.5 billion. Quarterly contracts, monthly sprays, emergency callouts, replacement traps. The average household spends between $400 and $600 every single year just to keep bugs from living rent-free in their kitchen. And here is the part that should bother you. 84% of American homeowners reported dealing with a pest problem in the past 12 months despite all that spending. Now drive 90 minutes into Holmes County, Ohio. Pull up to an Amish farmhouse that has been standing since 1880. No screens on half the windows. Fields pressed right against the back porch. A cellar door that doesn't seal tight. Wooden floors with settled gaps. Every condition that pest control companies would tell you is a guaranteed invitation to insects. Not a roach in the corner. Not an ant on the counter, not a single spider crossing the threshold, 0 pest control contracts, 0 spray cans, $0. That gap between what you are spending and what they are spending has an explanation. A specific, documented, scientifically confirmed explanation that costs under $1 to make and takes about 20 minutes to set up. Tonight, right now, you are going to get the full picture. What it is, why it works, and why you have never heard about it until this moment. Before we go further, drop a comment right now telling me which room bugs invade most in your home. Kitchen, bathroom, basement? I read every one, and your answer is going to matter by the end of this video. And if you are new here, subscribe, because there are 21 more techniques exactly like this one sitting in old farmhouses and forgotten government bulletins. And we are going to find every single one together. Let's get into it. The contrast. Why an Amish home should have more bugs, not fewer. Here is what nobody tells you when they compare Amish homes to modern ones. Amish farmhouses are not cleaner by the standards of modern sealing technology. They are not climate controlled. The wood has often been shifting and settling for over 100 years. Door frames are not perfectly plumb. Windowsills have real gaps. There are no chemical barriers baked into the paint. No treated lumber from the hardware store. By every conventional pest control metric, an Amish farmhouse should be more vulnerable than your home, not less. And yet, walk through them, any of them. Holmes County, Ohio. Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. The communities outside Berlin and Charm and Sugar Creek. You will not find evidence of ongoing pest problems. Talk to the families who have lived in those homes for 3 and 4 generations. They will not understand why you are even asking the question. Ask them how much they spend on pest control, and they will look at you the same way you might look at someone asking how much you spend on keeping the moon in the sky. It simply is not something they do. So what do they know that an industry worth over $24 billion has never wanted you to find out? It comes down to 3 things they put at every doorway. And the story of how the rest of us forgot about those 3 things is one of the most quietly infuriating things I've found in years of digging through old farmhouses and cardboard boxes in historical societies. The 3-ingredient powder that costs less than $1 to make. The powder is a blend of 3 ingredients. You have likely heard of at least 2 of them. The third is going to surprise you. Diatomaceous earth, boric acid, ground bay leaf. That is it. That is the whole secret. Now, before anyone scrolls past thinking this sounds like folk medicine and essential oil nonsense, stop. Every piece of this has been confirmed by modern university research. Let me walk you through exactly what each ingredient does. Because once you understand the mechanism, you will never look at a bug problem the same way again. Ingredient 1, diatomaceous earth. Diatomaceous earth is made from the fossilized remains of microscopic aquatic organisms called diatoms, tiny single-celled phytoplankton that accumulated in freshwater and ocean sediment over millions of years. Today, it is mined from silica deposits and sold in powder form. Under the microscope, every particle has razor-sharp edges. When an insect walks across diatomaceous earth, those edges cut through the waxy protective layer on the insect's soil exoskeleton. That's the layer that keeps moisture locked inside the body, and the insect cannot hold water. It dehydrates. It dies. Oklahoma State University Extension classifies food-grade diatomaceous earth as a mechanical insecticide, and research has confirmed it is effective against a wide range of crawling insects. Ants, cockroaches, fleas, bedbugs, ticks, silverfish, and more. Here's the part that matters most. Insects cannot develop immunity to it. There is no biological process happening, no chemical the insect's body can adapt to. It is simply sharp dust. It will work the same way in 100 years as it does today. A bag of food-grade diatomaceous earth costs between $8 and $15 at any farm supply store or online. Enough to treat an entire house sits in about a cup of that bag. One critical note, always use food grade, not pool grade. Pool grade diatomaceous earth is chemically treated and dangerous to inhale. The bag must specifically say food grade. Ingredient 2, boric acid. Boric acid is a naturally occurring compound made from boron, oxygen, and hydrogen. It has been used as an insecticide for over a century. According to the National Pesticide Information Center, boric acid acts as both a stomach poison and a physical abrasive for insects. When ants or roaches walk through boric acid powder, it sticks to their legs and bodies. They carry it back to the colony. The colony grooms itself. They ingest the powder. Within 1 to 2 weeks, the entire colony collapses. Not just the scouts you see walking across your floor, but the thousands, sometimes tens of thousands that you never see hidden in walls, under floors, behind appliances. You are not killing the ant in your kitchen. You are ending the nest. Pest control expert John DeBruzzo of Truly Nolan notes that boric acid is particularly effective against termites, ants, roaches, and bedbugs because it is a non-repellent. Insects do not detect it and avoid it. They simply walk through it. And as long as it stays dry and undisturbed, it keeps working long term. A small box of Borax Laundry Booster, which contains boric acid burst, costs about $3 at any grocery store. Ingredient 3, ground bay leaf. This is the one that surprised me most when I started researching. Bay leaves contain essential oils including eucalyptal, terpenes, and methyluginol. Research on bay leaf essential oil published in the Journal of Applied and Natural Science confirmed its insecticidal activity against stored grain pests, with activity that was both time and concentration dependent. The eucalyptal and eugenol compounds in bay leaves are well documented as repellents against ants, moths, silverfish, and pantry beetles. But here is the key distinction between the bay leaf and the other two ingredients. It does not kill insects. It does something arguably more useful. It tells them to turn around before they ever cross the threshold. The scent disrupts their chemical communication and signals danger. They do not enter. The bay leaf is the perimeter warning. The diatomaceous earth is the physical kill zone for anything that ignores it. The boric acid follows the survivor's home and destroys the colony. 3 layers, 3 different mechanisms, working simultaneously. A jar of whole bay leaves from the spice aisle costs about $2. How to make and apply the powder. Take 8 to 10 bay leaves. Grind them in a coffee grinder until they are fine powder. Mix 1 cup of food-grade diatomaceous earth, 1/4 cup of borax, and all of the ground bay leaf powder in a glass jar. Shake it. That is your batch. Now go to every exterior door in your house, open it, and look at where the threshold meets the floor on the inside. Sprinkle a thin, barely visible line of powder along that seam. Press it lightly into any gap with your finger. Same thing at the base of every ground floor windowsill. Same along the seam where your basement walls meet the basement floor. Same along the bottom of your garage door where it meets the concrete. The line should be almost invisible. You're not building a wall, you're building a moat. The entire application takes about 20 minutes. The powder lasts 4 months in dry conditions. If a section gets soaked by heavy rain, reapply it. That is the only maintenance required. Total cost for a 3-bedroom house, approximately $1 worth of the mixture. The rest of the batch sits in a jar for next season. The history they buried. Now ask yourself the obvious question: if this works, if the science is solid, if the ingredients are cheap, available, and have no patent, why does nobody talk about it? The answer is uncomfortable, and it starts in 1947. Before that, the knowledge was not hidden at all. It was government endorsed, publicly distributed, and standard practice across the Midwest. The United States Department of Agriculture published Farmer's Bulletin number 1379 in 1923 to distribute directly to rural households across Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Indiana. It described a threshold powder using diatomaceous earth, borax, and dried herbs as a standard home pest prevention method. This was not fringe knowledge in 1923. This was official federal guidance handed to farmers across the country. Then the synthetic pesticide industry exploded after World War II. In 1972, the EPA banned DDT, a pesticide that had been in widespread use since the end of World War II, due to its adverse environmental effects and potential human health risks. But in 1947, DDT was being marketed as a miracle. Chemical companies flooded women's magazines with advertisements showing a distressed housewife rescued by a man in a white coat with a spray can. The unspoken message was not subtle. Your grandmother's methods are dirty, primitive, and embarrassing. Modern women use modern products. The USDA stopped reprinting the threshold powder bulletins. By the mid-1950s, that recipe had vanished from Extension Service literature entirely. Not because it stopped working, not because something better replaced it, because nobody could patent 3 things you buy in bulk for pennies. There was no $48 a month contract hiding inside a bag of diatomaceous earth. DDT, the miracle product that replaced the threshold powder, was banned by the EPA in 1972 because of its negative environmental effects and threat to human health. Today, DDT is categorized as a probable human carcinogen. Think about that timeline. A multi-decade marketing campaign convinced an entire generation to throw out knowledge that had worked for over 100 years. They replaced it with a chemical that was later banned for causing cancer. And then came the chemicals that replaced that and the ones that replaced those. The Amish never made that trade. A publication called Family Life, printed out of Aylmer, Ontario, and distributed across Amish communities, carried the powder recipe almost verbatim through the 1970s. They simply kept doing what worked while the rest of the country was sold something more expensive, more dangerous, and less effective. Tell me in the comments, did any older relative in your family, a grandparent, great aunt, elderly neighbor, ever show you something like this? Did they have a method for keeping bugs out that you now realize nobody around you does anymore? Those comments are the most important thing in this section, because the knowledge was not destroyed. It was just passed down in fewer and fewer families. Some of you still carry pieces of it. The second layer, words aren't what they soaked into the wood itself. The powder handles 90% of it. The next piece gets you to 100%. In an Amish carpenter's workshop outside Berlin, Ohio, I was shown something that sent me back through 3 separate research trails before I fully understood what I was looking at. The carpenter, 81 years old, had built 14 homes in his lifetime, was finishing a set of door frames for a young couple. He pointed at the threshold piece, the flat board you step over when you enter a house, and told me to lean down and smell it. Cedar. And underneath the cedar, something sharper, herbal, almost minty. He had soaked that board in pennyroyal oil for 3 days before installing it. Pennyroyal, Mentha pallidum in Europe, Hedioma pallidioides in North America, is a wild mint plant with an extraordinary history as an insect repellent. Since the time of the ancient Greeks, pennyroyal was considered a useful insect repellent, reflected in modern times by the common name fleabane. The Latin names of both plants also reflect this insect repelling power. Puligoides and pulligum both derive from the Latin word for flea. Extracts from pennyroyal, including the essential oil, have traditionally been used over the last centuries as a traditional insecticide and insect repellent. The active compound is puligone, an organic compound, responsible for the plant's sharp mint scent. Puligone's efficacy in repelling insects is well documented in various studies, making it one of the most robust insect deterrents. In essential oil form, it can also act as a larvicide, targeting young larvae stages of certain insects. What the Amish discovered through generations of practice is that when you soak a threshold board in pennyroyal oil before installation, the oil bonds with the wood fibers and releases slowly. Over years, over decades, it does not wash out. The carpenter showed me a threshold pulled from a house built in 1961. He scratched the surface with his thumbnail. The herbal scent came right out of that 60-year-old wood, still active. I found written documentation of this in a 1934 book called The Pennsylvania German Cookbook by Edna Heller. In the back, tucked into a section on household remedies, she described a recipe she called door oil: pennyroyal, cedarwood, and clove mixed in linseed oil, brushed onto thresholds, windowsills, and the bottoms of cabinet doors. She wrote that every house she visited in Lancaster County had this oil on the wood. She wrote that nobody she knew had a bug problem. Then the book went out of print. The Amish kept using it. How to apply it to your home. Right now, buy a small bottle of pennyroyal essential oil online for about $10. Mix 20 drops into a quarter cup of pure linseed oil. Get on your knees at your front door. Wipe the mixture directly onto the wooden threshold and let it soak in. Do the same at the back door, the cellar door, and any wooden windowsill on the ground floor. The smell is strong for the first 24 to 48 hours. By day 3, you barely notice it. The insects notice it for the next decade or more. Critical safety warning: pennyroyal oil is highly toxic if taken internally and can lead to organ failure. It is also toxic to dogs and cats, especially if ingested. Apply it only to exterior thresholds where the wood absorbs it and fresh air dilutes it. Never apply it inside enclosed rooms or near food. Keep the bottle locked away from children and pets. The Amish have known these boundaries for 200 years. The oil goes on the doorway wood, not inside, not near animals, and never, under any circumstances, taken internally. Total cost for threshold treatment on a 3-bedroom